Part 15. Global Copy, My Talent is Called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 141. The time it took for Luzaioki to play the Disaster Dimension Dungeon was the longest in Luzaioki's history. It took 2 days and 1 night. After all, we went through almost 10 resource areas in total. Each resource area was quite large. In addition, cleaning up the battlefield after the battle was indeed very labor-intensive. But fortunately, everyone is an adventurer with starlight or above, their physiques are different from ordinary people, and their combat intensity is not high. All the hard work is taken care of by someone like Lu, so they all get enough rest, so until they are out of trouble everyone in the copy is still in high spirits. By the time Xiaoyan and the others finished strengthening their equipment, it was already the evening of the 7th day, and tomorrow would be the first day of school. Luzaioki had already taken advantage of this free time to call her sister to report that she was safe. There is a landline where they live now. She had already expected that the trip would not be short-lived, so Luzaioki made it clear to her sister in advance and made another call now to completely put her mind at ease. Because the dimensional creatures in this copy will only drop dimensional breath and there are no other gains, so after strengthening the equipment, everyone is ready to disband. Before leaving, Xiaoyan took Zhao Sueking and Luzaioki and told them not to be late for class tomorrow out of her duty instinct as a class teacher. Luzaioki naturally agreed, and Zhao Sueking also nodded. Luzaioki did not ride on Zhao Sueking's car this time. After saying goodbye to everyone, he went to the material recycler's shop that Zhang Hong told him. Needless to say the purpose, and this time, his target is not just one family. More than 2 hours later, with tens of millions in his pocket, he left the shops that were filled to the brim with satisfaction. In a blink of an eye, he went to the auction house again. The resentful ones who were forced to knock out copies by him left a lot of good things for him. He planned to get rid of these unused weapons and then repurchase a wave of goods. Of course, Luzaioki didn't forget to bring some small snacks to Hitantu, who worked hard and achieved great results. I'm so fat. Sister, the first thing Luzaioki did when she entered the door was to shout, and she couldn't wait to walk to the living room. Lu Wanyi answered Luzaioki's call and knew that he would be back in the evening, so she was busy preparing dinner. Hitantu sensed that Luzaioki was gradually approaching through the interaction between his pets. His mood immediately dropped, and he lay listlessly in the middle of the living room, even though the TV was playing the big gray movie he especially liked to watch recently. The Wolf and the Wise Sheep did not interest it at all. When he thought that his master was back and that he had to go through the so-called training where his whole body was scratched, numb, itchy, and occasionally tingling, he couldn't help but shiver, and everything suddenly became boring. Zaioki, please sit down for a while. I'm cooking in the kitchen. I'll be ready soon, Lu Wanyi's energetic voice came out through the door. Luzaioki could hear her sister's energetic voice, even if it was just he and his sister temporarily borrowed Zhao Sueking's nursing home, but they still felt like they were truly at home. He walked over with a smile, opened the kitchen door, poked his head in and asked, Sister, what are you making delicious food? Wow! It smells so good. Oops. Stop making trouble and get out, my sister slapped away his sneaky paws and prepared to pick up the meat slices. I'll eat it later. You haven't washed your hands yet. The food isn't even on the table yet, you're so rude. Oh, it's just the two of us, how can we be polite? Luzaioki said shamelessly, looking at the steaming dishes, looking ready to eat. In the past 2 days, he had not eaten anything in the dungeon except showing off a bag of popcorn, 2 bags of potato chips, a pair of grilled wings, a chicken leg and N packs of spicy strips. The beef, lotus leaf chicken, polenta, 8 treasure porridge, chocolate, bread, and cakes he brought ended up in the mouths of Zhao, Xiao and Zhang. Very angry. At this moment, I smelled the aroma of the meal carefully prepared by my sister again, and I couldn't hold it back any longer. If you don't obey me, sister will be angry. Lu Wanyi put on a pretty face and put on a serious look. Get out quickly. Lu Zioki immediately raised his hands in surrender. Okay, okay, I'm leaving now. Seeing the aggrieved look on his face, Lu Wanyi felt funny and shouted, wait a minute. As she spoke, she rinsed her delicate hands in the water and picked up a fragrant piece of beef. Open your mouth. Lu Zioki's eyes lit up, she leaned down and opened her mouth wide. Ah! Lu Wanyi put the beef into his mouth, then pushed him. Okay, I've eaten the meat, get out quickly. After accepting the feeding from his sister, Lu Zioki was kicked out of the kitchen with satisfaction. His mouth moved, and the plump beef juice overflowed, and the aroma wafted in his mouth, making him feel even more happy. Even when he met Heitantu's contemptuous expression, he didn't get angry. I just used old Chinese medicine massage techniques and rubbed its dog head for a few minutes, until the black charcoal head was rubbed until it screamed. After kneading, he did not forget the carrot and stick principle, and took out the pet food specially prepared for Haitan, preparing to give it some sweetness. As a result, he opened the package with great interest and took out a piece of dark pet food to give Haitan Tiu a taste. As a result, he was pushed away with a look of disgust. Huh, Lu Zioki paused in her hands, with a dangerous smile on her face. You little heiress, I haven't seen you for a few days, and you're just pulling me like this. We will see each other with admiration after 3 days of separation. Tell me. Do you want to rebel? Lu Zioki used a grappling technique on Haitan Tiu. He stuck the dog's head and pinned it to the ground. Even his mouth was pinched by Lu Zioki and he couldn't open it. He could only make a wee sound. You're not talking, are you? If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your acquiescence. Take the move. You traitor. Lu Zioki used his unique secret technique, Xia, G, Ba, pinch. Heitantu was already lying on the ground now, giving up his useless struggle, with a helpless and desperate expression on his face. You bastard master. You cover my mouth, how do you let me speak? Hateful. What kind of evil did I, Xiaolong, commit in my previous life? In the end, under the friendly exchange of one person and one pet hepping, Heitantu successfully accepted Lu Zioki's kindness and was stuffed with a mouthful of pet food. Don't tell me, although this thing doesn't look great, it actually tastes pretty good. It's a big improvement compared to refined grain pills. Moreover, the energy replenishment was also very good. After chewing a few mouthfuls, Heitantu could not help but wag his tail. It smells so good. Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 142. Yanhuang Talisman Add 23, Red. Convert 10% of the weight of the package column into its own destructive power, upward arrow, changed. The chance of monsters dropping is increased by 100%, upward arrow. Convert the specified 90-slot parcel bar into a shortcut bar, upward arrow. The level of the props in the shortcut bar is increased by 3 additional levels, applicable to myth and below, upward arrow. Every time a prop is stored in the shortcut bar, a protective dragon will be summoned according to the level of the prop, adding additional attack and defense, upward arrow. Each real dragon can resist a fatal injury, each time will consume the durability of the prop in the shortcut bar, resume after 2 hours. After the talisman is placed in the package slot, its attributes will automatically take effect, unique. It was night, and Lu Zioki rarely tortured Heitantu today, allowing him to have a rare peaceful sleep. He sat on the bedside tinkering with his equipment. Lu Zioki also didn't expect that just the Yanhuang talisman, cleaning entries, and strengthening it would take him so much effort. He still takes it too much for granted. Strengthening at 10,086 is impossible to achieve. It took him several hours just to rush from 22 to 23, and from 23 to 24. I dare not even think about it. This dimensional breath's probability of strengthening the equipment is cut in half every time, but the strengthening time increases exponentially. When Luzaoki strengthens at 23, the probability has been reduced to 0.00001192009%. This is an almost impossible value, even if Tiendao is really his biological father. What's more, if you can strengthen it to 23 in such a short period of time, you are already your biological father. The time required for strengthening also suddenly jumped from the 10 seconds required for at 22 to 5 minutes. From a probabilistic perspective, even if he is strengthened every 5 minutes, it will take more than 40 million minutes to successfully strengthen him. Converted to 29,127 days. Odds erased. It takes nearly 80 years. It's almost an ordinary person's lifetime. Therefore, even if Luzaoki believed that she was protected by heaven and possessed by Emperor Ou, she still knew that this decision could not be achieved in a short time, so she chose to give up. I plan to click on it randomly once or twice when I am in a good mood. It is worth mentioning that the entries he washed out. The increase in the parcel column was replaced by converting the load of the parcel column into destructive power. This is a pretty op ability. Even for ordinary adventurers, turning one's own burden into destructive power is definitely the first choice. For cheat players like Luzaoki, it's even more pointless. His parcel column is unlimited. And the props automatically stack up to 999 plus. The most important thing is that the package enhancement brought about by his talent is not affected by the weight of the package column. Not affected, it does not mean that the parcel column is not loaded. This means that he can pile some particularly heavy materials in the parcel column in exchange for infinite destructive power. And what does it mean to be destructive? Some equipment has extremely high defense and is almost impossible to shake, or it is directly immune to certain attacks. But for Luzaoki, with one move, the infinite destructive power directly destroyed the piece of equipment. Then its effectiveness will be gone. In game terms, it means directly deducting durability. The original conversion rate of the entry was only 1%, but with Luzaoki's unremitting efforts, it increased to 10%. Although for Luzaoki, it is nothing more than the difference between decorating more and decorating less. But from here we can also see how much enhancement can change a piece of equipment. However, in the final step, he did not choose green equipment, resonance. Because, he felt that based on the properties of this talisman, his other equipment was simply not worthy of it. Let's not talk about the dagger suit. It's already a green suit, so there's no way to add more green to it. Other heavy armor, cloaks, rings. Rare, legendary, and mythical talismans don't seem to match at all. Luzaoki will definitely need to change to better equipment in the future. Now that it is green, the potential of the talisman will be limited to death. He plans to get a set of mythical equipment, then resonate together, and finally bring a growth-oriented entry. Even if it doesn't exist, Luzaoki will wash it out. Before washing the amulet, Luzaoki experimented with Warrior's Cloak and Wolf's Kiss, ring. Basic entries such as adding attack and defense values can only change the value so that the value is close to the original limit value. For example, this cloak is a rare equipment worn by the star level. Its full basic defense value should be around 400. No matter how Luzaoki washes it, he can only get a basic defense value close to 400, and cannot change it to other attribute entries. But starting from the second attribute, you can let yourself go. Luzaoki found one that reduced attack power and increased attack speed, another one that dealt 1% of his own health damage with each attack. The most outrageous thing was that when attacked, it increased the enemy's attack power and slowed down the enemy's 3 speeds, attack speed, movement, the properties of speed and release speed, collectively referred to as 3 speeds. The properties of the last 2 are fixed in the following panel. Cloak of the Good Fighter, cloak add 10, green. Basic defense increased, 697, upward arrow, modified. Original value is 399, changed to 697 after strengthening. Each attack steals a certain attack, movement, and release speed from the target until the target dies, upward arrow, changed. After killing the target, you will permanently gain 2 points of movement speed bonus. The current bonus is 0, upward arrow, changed. Combination with Wolf's Kiss triggers the following effects. Good Fighting Wolf, fixed reduction of 8 points of damage taken, and every 10 minutes of fighting, the damage received is reduced by 1%, maximum 10%. Wolf's Kiss ring add 10, green. Basic damage increased by 271, upward arrow, changed. When attacking an enemy in a negative state, bleeding, poisoning, dizziness, paralysis, etc., the damage is increased by 15%, upward arrow, changed. After killing the target, the equipment's basic damage is permanently increased by 2 points. The current bonus is 0, upward arrow, changed. Combined with Combatant's Cloak, the following effects are triggered. Wolf Fang blood sucking, causes 8% energy and blood drain when attacking. The compatibility between these two pieces of equipment was actually very low. It took Luzaoki and attempts to successfully harmonize the two pieces of equipment and turn them into a set. It may be for this reason that the effect of the suit is also very crotch stretching. It can only be said that it is much better than not. However, the growth entries that were washed out after spending a lot of dimensional breath are still pretty good. I have to say that it is really hard to wash this growth type entry. Luzaoki washed almost 1500 plus dimensional breath, blue, for each item, which is equivalent to more than 10 times what they gained from this copy. The difficulty for normal people to come up with a growth-oriented entry can be seen as average. Moreover, Luzaoki also tried it. A piece of equipment can only have one growth type entry. Once you have it, you can't get a second one no matter what. The attributes of heavy armor are relatively good, but the equipment takes up too much space. Luzaoki simply cleaned up the basic numerical entries, strengthened it and left it alone. The properties are as follows. Purgatory Judge heavy armor at 10. Basic defense increased by 4126, upward arrow, modified. The original value is 1382 at 873, followed by the plus sign is the improvement of growth attributes after washing the entries, the value changes to 1597 at 873, and after strengthening, it changes to 3253 at 873. Save damage below 12% of own health, upward arrow. When actively released, it summons the magic flame to possess it, which increases its attack by 30%, speed by 45% and damage reduction by 25%, lasting for 80 seconds, cooling down is 45 seconds, repeated releases cannot be superimposed and will only cover the duration, upward arrow. Judgment of Flame, targets killed during the duration of the demonic flame possession will have a permanent blessing on the attributes, upward arrow, of the Infernal Judge. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 143. School is open. Luzaoki actually met someone he didn't expect at school. Chenhei Oren. It was rare for him to miss Luzaoki and she actually came to the school to look for him. When the two met, they exchanged pleasantries again. Chenhei Oren is much thinner and tan than before, but he looks much more energetic. He told that after the monster attacked the city, he planned to go to Luzaoki to see how he was doing. It turned out that Luzaoki's phone had been unable to get through, it was not charging, and no one was there when he went to his house, and even one of the walls collapsed. This worried Chen Haoran for a long time. When school started, I immediately came to the school to find someone. Now that he saw Lu Zioqi safe and sound, he felt relieved and a warm smile bloomed on his face. The two exchanged contact information again and briefly recounted their recent experiences. Lu Zioqi had already inquired about his situation through relevant departments before and knew about his near misses. But it's one thing to know, but it's another thing to hear him mention it himself. In his mouth, even if he was fishing at the end of the team, it was thrilling. Lu Zioqi also mentioned her own experience, briefly saying that she downloaded the dungeon, killed some monsters, made some money, and took her sister to a sanatorium for physical treatment. Chen Haoran also did not associate him with the super boss that has been circulating in Chengdu for a long time. Please forgive his limited imagination. Even when Lu Zioqi said that he killed many monsters in seconds, Chen Haoran thought that he was bragging like himself. Lu Zioqi also made a joke with him, saying that he, Chen Haoran, should really be worried. After all, Haoran doesn't live long, and bad guys live for thousands of years. The two did not become estranged because they had not seen each other for a while. On the contrary, their relationship became more cordial and nostalgic because they met again after not seeing each other for a long time. The longer the wine lasts, the mellower it becomes, and the longer the friendship lasts, the more true it becomes. As the college entrance examination approaches, the atmosphere in the school begins to become more solemn. Many people have begun to worry at this imminent moment. There are many people who are cramming. Lu Zioqi is also worried about something recently. After all, Wang Yanran is a big boss of Sun Yao, and it is impossible for her to stay in Rongcheng to help Lu Wanyi recuperate. In fact, a few days ago, when Lu Wanyi's body returned to normal, she stood up and left. Busy business.jpg. Now that the recuperation is over, he and his sister can't always live in Zhao Sueking's nursing home. But the walls of the Lu family courtyard where they lived before had collapsed, and the surrounding environment was indeed not very good. So Lu Zioqi plans to buy a comfortable house again. Now I am debating where is the best place to buy. Should I buy a small villa in the suburbs or a large flat in the city center? Oops, it's such a headache, I might as well get one each. Are you planning to buy a house? Zhao Sueking finished chewing the food in her mouth, glanced at him, and spoke calmly. When he and Zhao Sueking had dinner together at noon, he kept holding a mobile phone and staring at the web page browsing house prices without hiding it. His true thoughts were naturally exposed in front of Zhao Sueking's eyes and could be seen at a glance. Well, keeping you here all the time is not an option after all. Lu Zioqi took a sip in her mouth and continued to fiddle with her phone. It's all right. I don't mind. Zhao Sueking almost blurted out. The two of them have become very close recently, and rumors about their affair have begun to spread in the class, but neither of them cares much about these things. Xiao Yan also turned a blind eye and didn't care much about these two little devils. As long as they don't make any more troubles, such as running to the nightmare dungeon to play or something. Love as much as you like. Don't call it a scandal, even if it's a real love affair. Ahem, then I should take care of this. Speaking of houses, I seem to have a villa that has been vacant and I have never lived there. It is also quite close to the school. Zhao Sueking picked up a meatball and put it in her mouth, gently pulled her hair back, and said something seemingly casually. How much? Lu Zioqi noticed and asked. It's not very expensive, just over 30 million. Zhao Sueking waved her hand. Cough, cough, cough. Lu Zioqi choked at her not so good words, swallowed the food in her mouth with difficulty, and looked at her with wide eyes. How much? Although the money in Lu Zioqi's pocket now is far more than 30 million. But this is all the life money he earned with hard work. He must be heartbroken when he spends less than half of it at once. Zhao Sueking also seemed to find that the price, which was insignificant to her, seemed a bit burdensome to Luzaoki, so she immediately changed her words, "The villa is actually average. I also have a 4-bedroom apartment here that's not very valuable. If you want it, I'll give it to you directly. As expected of a rich woman. If you don't agree, you'll get a house." Luzaoki was impressed. He remembered that the equipment she had lent to him had turned into his shape after being left here for so long, but he still didn't hear her say that she wanted to take it back. This silly girl is really generous when she says she is generous. He suddenly licked his face and asked, "Xueqing, do you know a question?" "What?" Zhao Xueqing was feeling confused at the moment, feeling a little guilty. "Did you act too obvious? Will this guy notice it?" Luzaoki took a sip of the soup, cleared her throat, and said in a low and sexy voice, "They say failure is the mother of success. Then do you know who the father of success is?" Zhao Xueqing was stunned by his sudden words. She tilted her head and thought for a while, then bit her chopsticks and shook her head. "Have no idea." "It's okay if you don't know," Luzaoki clapped her hands, "this way, today's crazy Thursday, you give me a V50, and I'll go buy one after school that's affordable for the whole family and I'll tell you when I come back." Zhao Xueqing took out her mobile phone without saying a word. "The money has been transferred, tell me now." Luzaoki's phone vibrated slightly, indicating that he had received a transfer from Zhao Xueqing. So he chuckled, "See for yourself, what's displayed on your phone now is successful payment." Zhao Xueqing. She bit her silver teeth lightly and glared hatefully at the bastard who was teasing her, Luzaoki. "I'm done eating, let's go first." Luzaoki had already finished the food on her tableware, picked up the bowls and chopsticks on the table, and ran away. Zhao Xueqing looked at his retreating back, pouted, and suddenly realized that Luzaoki had distracted him from the conversation about the house. Is it intentional? Zhao Xueqing's expression darkened, and she suddenly felt that the food in the lunchbox, which was carefully prepared by the special chef, had lost its original deliciousness. That night, Luzaoki sat in front of the bed with a trembling black charcoal head in her hand, a solemn expression on her face. "Be calm, don't move." Luzaoki put the holy blessing buff on the black charcoal head, scolded it softly, and pressed it with both hands. Mana flowed between the two. Digi, who had recovered most of her condition, was also in Luzaoki's danshan, paying full attention to Luzaoki's actions. They are creating a brand new system in this world based on Luzaoki's skills and the characteristics of his magic power. After such a long period of observation, Digi had to admit that the skills practiced by Luzaoki did indeed look very simple, but they were actually extremely useful and a great way to reach the sky. Although it doesn't seem to be outstanding in every aspect, in some aspects it has effects that she is envious of. For example, the improvement of the soul level, the nourishment and bonus to the body, and the improvement of lifespan. The most important thing is that this technique completely gets rid of dependence on dungeons. Even ordinary people without talent can practice it without consuming various training resources from dungeons. They can achieve breakthroughs just by absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. If Luzaoki's move succeeds, it will not only benefit him, his sister, friends and pets. It was even said that even her, a remnant soul who luckily escaped from the dungeon, could receive great help. After such a long period of testing, the two of them have basically mastered the art of mana cultivation. Although other aspects have not yet been perfected, the basic framework has been set up. The next thing is nothing more than further exploration. Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 144. It's another sunny weekend. On this day, Luzaoki owned her first house of her own in the world. And it's paid in full. He traveled all over the south and north of the city, and finally chose the quieter west of the city. This place belongs to the old city, and the environment is relatively quiet. My sister is also used to the peaceful and comfortable life here. In the east and south of the city, although the houses are built higher than the others and the prices are more expensive, they can no longer enjoy this comfortable and leisurely life. Looking up, I saw busy traffic, bright lights, people coming and going, bustling. Life is like a tight string that cannot be relaxed at all. Luzioki doesn't like this, and her sister doesn't like it even more. So he chose the west of the city. Although the west part of the city had just experienced a battle, many streets looked a bit dilapidated. But this place is full of greenery and people. The two of them were walking hand in hand on the street, and they could still see an old man in a vest holding a cattail leaf fan sitting under a big tree playing chess. Tea houses and chess and card rooms abound. There are even a few small stalls selling snacks, including ones with hanging candied haws on a stick, some with painted sugar figures, and others with roasted sweet potatoes and pancakes. Full of life. No matter where Lu Wanyi's eyes turned and stopped for a moment, Luzioki went up to buy something without hesitation. The elder sister always smiled and declined, but in the end she couldn't resist her younger brother and had more and more things in her hands. In the end, the two found a wooden leisure chair and sat quietly on it to embrace the faint afterglow of dusk. It has been a long time since Lu Wanyi and her brother enjoyed such a leisurely and lazy weekend. Since their adoptive parents disappeared, life has become a heavy burden, which has been weighing on the two siblings. The elder sister relies on a meager income to support the family, and the younger brother studies hard for the poor family. Now, finally liberated. Because my younger brother became an adventurer. Lu Wanyi's mood is actually quite complicated. Her body has now been conditioned to be like a normal person, and her brother has earned more money than she can spend in her lifetime. He bought her many things, and today he took her to see her new home. She felt that her time during this period was as happy as a dream. But what follows is endless worry, fear that one day I will suddenly lose everything, lose my brother. Naturally, you can't just move in with your bags in your new home, even though it has been decorated a lot. Luzioki found a moving company and packed up all the things in her old yard and took them to her new home. Lu Wanyi touched the banyan tree in the middle of her old yard with great reluctance. It was a witness of the two playing together and growing up together. That wonderful time was worth saving for her whole life. Seeing her feeling so deeply, Luzioki also hugged her sister gently. She didn't say anything, but her sister seemed to be comforted and gently rested her head on Luzioki's shoulder. The work lasted until midnight. After all the things had been moved, the new home was in such a mess that it was impossible to live in it. In desperation, the two returned to Zhao Xueqing's nursing home, planning to stay for one more night. Xiaoqi, come here for a moment. Lu Wanyi's face looked sleepy. She was excited and busy today, from morning to midnight, and now she just wanted to get into bed and have a good sleep. But when she thought that she still had something to tell her brother, she reluctantly cheered up and called out softly. Luzioki looked at her sister, who was so sleepy that she could hardly keep her eyes open, and asked gently and a little distressedly, "What's wrong, sister? Why don't you go and have a rest soon?" "There is something that I forgot before, but I will give it to you now." As she said that, she bit her lower lip gently and took out a sparkling ring from her pocket. "This is something left behind by Mom and Dad. I haven't been able to use it, and I don't want to use it. Now that you have become an adventurer, I think this should be helpful to you, so." Lu Wanyi said softly with light in her eyes. When she was cleaning up her home today, she suddenly remembered that she still had this item and quickly rummaged through it. My brother has grown up now and has become so powerful. As a sister, there is nothing she can do to help him anymore. Maybe this is the last little bit of help I can give to my brother. Looking at her expectant expression, Luzioki felt infinite pity in her heart and gently held her sister's hand. "Sister, having you always by my side is the greatest help to me. It is also God's best gift to me. When Lu Wanyi heard her brother say such sensational words, she couldn't help but blush twice on her face. She forgot about the sadness for a moment and said coquettishly, "Glib tongue. I wonder how many girls I will deceive in the future." With that said, she took out her hand, stuffed the ring into Lu Zioki's arms, and hid in the room in a panic. Lu Zioki looked at the cute appearance of the sister, raised the corner of her mouth slightly, and smiled softly. He looked down at the ring. King's treasure ring. Basic damage increased by 213. Carry 125 cubic meters of storage space. Every additional piece of equipment carried by the holder will increase the skill power by 5%. Transformation type V, bound. After active activation, you can ignore the wearing conditions and directly wear the equipment that has been bound to the transformation V type. Details can be viewed after transformation. Currently, 0 pieces of equipment have been bound, and the remaining binding slots are 5. A legendary ring? Lu Zioki was stunned for a moment. He always thought that his adoptive parents were just ordinary adventurers. After all, they lived in a shabby old courtyard in Chengdu, and they were dressed very simply. They had never seen any distinguished guests visit them. Unexpectedly, the relic that my sister took out for her adoptive parents to give to the siblings turned out to be legendary equipment. When her adoptive parents disappeared, Lu Zioki had no awakening talent, couldn't see its attributes, and didn't know what kind of prop the ring was. Something is fishy. Lu Zioki immediately felt that the disappearance of her adoptive parents might not be simple. For the first time, the originally clear image of adoptive parents cast a layer of confusion in Lu Zioki's mind. I've said it before. Legendary equipment is very rare. Even though Lu Zioki has several mythical items on his body, he has always disliked the legendary growth type heavy armor. That's because he opened it. But in fact, there are very few people in this world who can own legendary equipment. Among so many adventurers, apart from himself, Lu Zioki had only seen the robe worn by Mrs. Zhao that seemed to be a legendary item. It seems that she found someone to order it. Making a piece of legendary equipment is not only time-consuming and labor-intensive, but the most important thing is waste materials. The base price of a material that can be used to make legendary equipment is estimated to be no less than 1 million. But in order to make a finished product, it is not enough to rely on one material alone, there must be at least several matching materials to create a legendary equipment. And the success rate is still a question mark. However, she is the daughter of the Zhao family, the head of the 4 major families in the Dragon Kingdom, so she deserves to have a piece of legendary equipment specially customized for her. But there is only one piece, and there is no ordinary legendary equipment, let alone very scarce parts, fingers, ears, neck, etc. You can imagine how rare this thing is. Sometimes, just because you have money doesn't mean you can get everything. After all, the explosion rate of legendary equipment is pitifully low, and there are only so many copies produced. No matter how rich you are, there is nothing you can do if you run out of goods. Zhao Xueqing's method of finding someone to customize equipment is considered top-notch even among wealthy people. And where did his adoptive parents get such rare equipment? If they didn't have 2 brushes, where could they get something so awesome? Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 145. Lu Zioki brought the king's treasure, and everything in the storage space was immediately displayed in his mind. 2 exquisite green suits, a staff, a long spear, a short blade, and a lot of odds and ends. Finally, there is a piece of letterhead placed alone in a prominent location. He took out the letterhead, which was densely covered with Lu Zioki's familiar delicate handwriting. It can be seen that this is a passage left to them by their adoptive mother. Wanyi, Zioki. I am mother. When you read this letter, I think we are no longer here. Don't be sad, Don't be sad, this is the path chosen by your parents. What's in the ring is our last gift to you. It should be able to help you a lot. The whole article uses a seemingly optimistic and cheerful tone to express his last words to Lu Xiaoqi and Lu Wanyi. In fact, he is full of regrets and regrets that he will not be able to watch his children grow up in the future, and he also tries to persuade the siblings not to worry about this matter. Too sad. She seemed to have anticipated her disappearance. Lu Xiaoqi couldn't help but blush after reading it. Seeing words is like seeing people. He seemed to see the mother with a gentle smile on her face looking at him kindly, reaching out and gently touching his head. It turns out that the adoptive parents had already made arrangements for their funeral. Bank cards, passwords, treasures stored in secret locations, and related access methods. Everything was clearly explained in the letter. But they didn't expect that their sister would actually give up her awakening talent and become an ordinary person. So much so that this letter had been sealed in dust for several years, and it was only today that Lu Xiaoqi opened it. It can only be said that it was a coincidence and fate played a trick on people. There are 2 sets of equipment inside, a set of robes, a set of leather armor, and several skill books. It seems that the adoptive parents have plans for their children's future. Melee and mage equipment and skills are ready. Lu Xiaoqi and Lu Wanyi suit each other perfectly. Lu Xiaoqi picked up the leather armor and took a deep breath. This is actually a set of rare green equipment. And it's a complete 5-piece set. What does that mean? Green suit, the more parts, the stronger the properties. Already said before. The attributes of the 5-piece set are basically the same as those of the legendary equipment parts. Beliaz's Unruly Forehead Protector. Basic Defense 593. Comes with a True Vision Halo, displaying traps within 10 meters of itself. When combined with Beliaz's Loneliness, Beliaz's Tyranny, Beliaz's Meditation, and Beliaz's Regret, the following effects will be triggered. Demon Seed, 3-piece set effect. It can convert the killed target into an enslaved demon servant. Each demon servant increases its own hit and dodge by an additional 5%. The maximum number is 3, 5, 2. Annihilation, 5-piece set effect. The demon servant can initiate a self-destruction, causing all things within 3 meters around itself to suffer real damage. The damage value is determined by the quality of the demon servant. Note: the halo is effective for all members of the party. Beliaz's Loneliness Leather Armor. Basic Defense 794. Comes with a halo of thorns, reflects 20% of melee damage received. When Beliaz's Unruly, Beliaz's Tyranny, Beliaz's Meditation, and Beliaz's Regret are combined, the following effects will be triggered. Strengthened Thorns. The Thorn Halo effect is suitable for long-range damage, and the rebound value is 10, 15, 2. Invalid Magic Ball. When the health value drops below 30, a shield is generated that is immune to magic damage. It can block 12% of the magic damage of one's own health value. Beliaz's Tyranny Leggings. Basic Defense 643. Comes with a blood-sucking aura. 15% of the damage caused is converted into one's own health value. When Beliaz's Unruly, Beliaz's Loneliness, Beliaz's Meditation, and Beliaz's Regret are combined, the following effects will be triggered. Mana Flow Tai. When the skill hits an enemy, it will permanently increase its own mana. Cooling Time, 240s, 180s, 2. Immortal Grip. When attacking the target for the first time, the upper limit of one's HP will increase. Meditations of Beliaz's Belt. Basic Defense 371. Comes with Command Aura, increases attack power by 10%. When Beliaz's Unruly, Beliaz's Loneliness, Beliaz's Tyranny, and Beliaz's Regret are combined, the following effects will be triggered. Different offense and defense. Own defense power is converted into attack power, conversion ratio, 8%, 12%. Logistics expertise. For every 10 package slots you have, you will get an additional quick slot. Belias's Regret Boots. Basic Defense 459. Comes with a Durability Aura, increases movement speed and attack speed by 10%. When Belias's Unruly, Belias's Loneliness, Belias's Tyranny, and Belias's Meditation are combined, the following effects will be triggered. Swift Step, movement will charge energy, stacking up to 100 layers. After the stack is fully charged, the next basic attack will heal yourself and gain 20% additional movement speed, which lasts for 1 second. Healing amount, 547 add 5% attack power, 817 add 12% attack power. Phase Rush, hitting the enemy 3 times in a row within 5 seconds can trigger Phase Rush, which will greatly increase your own movement speed and slowing resistance. It lasts for 5 seconds, gradually decaying, and can only be triggered once every 60 seconds. The identification is correct. This is a rare suit that can only be worn by Moonlight level adventurers. And the attributes are very rare in the Halo series. The resonance entry is also very nice, and I don't know how much the adoptive parents spent to get this set of equipment. And there is also a set of such equipment for a mage. In addition, there are 2 complete sets of skills, one for the mage and one for the warrior. There are 8 books in total, 4 with a C rating and 4 with a B rating. The adoptive parents have a very clear mind. My sister awakens her talent first. After awakening, she can use King's Treasure to be exempted from the wearing conditions of bound equipment. She can directly wear Moonlight level equipment to maximize her survivability, and then learn the corresponding skills, which is more than enough to deal with any dungeon. By the time Luzaoki reaches the point where she can activate her natural ability, her sister has almost reached the Uehui level with the help of her parents' savings. Then she can unbind the ring and wear the equipment directly, and give the King's Treasure to Luzaoki. Zaoki uses. In this way, the equipment, skills, etc. are all ready. The siblings don't have to worry about anything at least until they reach the Moonlight level. Poor parents in the world. Luzaoki seemed to see 2 familiar faces through all these preparations, who eagerly hoped that their children would grow up healthily and smoothly. He pursed his lips and decided not to tell his sister what he found in the ring. Her body has just recovered a little, so it's better not to irritate her with her parents' affairs. Let's tell her after he brings her the golden apple and awakens her talent to become an adventurer. This ring is also reserved for her for the time being, so Luzaoki cannot use it for the time being. However, the combined attributes of this leather armor suit have far exceeded the improvement brought to him by the heavy armor Luzaoki is currently wearing, so it can be replaced. Especially the resonance entry for the belt, logistics expertise. This attribute has always been in Luzaoki's heart. With Luzaoki's natural ability, combined with this entry, and his talisman, it is simply invincible. But now that he was no longer in a hurry to wear it, Luzaoki took out the dimensional breath and began to strengthen the suit. He didn't plan to do anything about the halo entries. The 5 halos in a suit felt good, and it was a team collaboration type. The more people there were, the stronger the effect of this equipment would be. Not much worse than growth entries. Complete the basic entries first, and then strengthen them all to add 18, any more will not be achieved in a short time. Before I knew it, the night passed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 146. After spending a peaceful and beautiful time slowly came to June. The annual college entrance examination was finally held as scheduled. June 7th to 8th are basically 2 days that determine the fate of ordinary students. There are several turning points in an ordinary person's life. The college entrance examination undoubtedly accounts for the majority of them. and for the reservists who have passed the adventurer assessment, the importance of the college entrance examination is not weak at all. Only by passing the college entrance examination and entering the Adventurer Academy can they further and systematically learn adventurer-related knowledge. This will be of great help to their future growth. And their exams take 2 more exams than ordinary candidates. A written test to test their understanding of dungeons and monsters. An actual combat test to test their combat effectiveness when combined with their talents and skills. The 2 subjects combined are called the martial arts test, while the college entrance examination for ordinary candidates is called the liberal arts test. Of course, there is no need to say much about the written test. One thing to note in actual combat is that in order to take care of the talents and skills of many adventurers that are not related to combat, such as treatment, assistance, exploration. Therefore, it is divided into 2 forms, one is single person and the other is group. You can choose either one of the 2 to participate. Of course, you can also participate in both, and the final score will be calculated based on the highest one. The fighting between the 2 parties must not result in maiming or death. Anyone who violates the rules will be disqualified from the competition and will be held legally responsible. Luzaoki had nothing to worry about. He, a golden elixir boss, was fighting with a group of reservists who were not even stars, so there was nothing to worry about. Including the 8 people in their class, everyone is full of confidence. Si Mang plays reserve duty, and his level is crushed. How to lose when flying dragon rides on the face. The only thing that needs more attention is the written test part. But such a serious incident, Monster Siege, just happened in Chengdu. Both ordinary candidates and adventurer candidates received extra points for the college entrance examination. Especially for those who have made corresponding contributions in the Monster Siege, the extra points for the college entrance examination will be extremely high, up to 50 points. For example, someone like Lu Zhao Sueking also followed Xiao Yan and got 20 extra points for the college entrance examination. You know, the adventurer's college entrance examination score is only 500 points. It's 250 lower than the regular college entrance examination. Cultural achievements are converted into scores proportionally, accounting for only 20%, which is 100 points. What does 50 points mean? That's 1/10. Even before taking the exam, I just got 1/10 of the total score in my hand. If I tell you, it will make the reservists jealous to death. In fact, with Luzaoki's ability, he can be directly recommended. Because Imperial City University, the #1 adventurer academy in the Dragon Kingdom, has already sent an invitation letter to him, given by Wang Yanran. But people don't. Obviously I can rely on my ability, but I have to rely on my results. Just play. If you don't take the exam and get the top prize, wouldn't it be a waste of 3 years of hard work for me, Mr. Liu? So he waved his hand and said with Wang Yanran's speechless expression, leave the recommended places for those in need. We don't have to. In the examination room, Luzaoki wrote with energy and thought as brightly as a diabetic, and he wrote densely on a test paper without any effort. After strengthening his physical fitness, although his IQ will not be improved, his thinking will indeed be much sharper than before. Plus the bonus of cultivating immortality skills to oneself. His current memory would be modest to describe as photographic memory. Just say it. If he thinks about it, he can clearly recall even the childhood memories before time travel for you. It's just that I was ignorant at that time. I was too embarrassed and socialized, and there was nothing to remember. After writing the test paper, Luzaoki didn't bother to fidget in her position and directly raised her hand to indicate that she wanted to hand in the paper. The invigilator originally wanted to persuade the handsome young man to check again, but he immediately shut up when he saw his test paper. This dense handwriting. His. If there were not dedicated cameras at every location to focus on the candidates to prevent cheating, The monitoring teacher would even doubt whether he had prepared the test papers in advance. Have you filled up the paper in the past 20 minutes? This hand speed. Tisk tisk tisk, you are indeed a young man. Everyone in the same examination room with him was also shocked by his move. The exam just started less than half an hour ago. Is this person just handing in the paper? How irresponsible is this for one's own life? If you want to show off, there's no need to come to the examination room to show off, right? Don't you want to pretend again for the last few days? Are you deliberately trying to mess with other people's mentality? Of course, there are also candidates who go to the same school as him and know this influential figure. Their mood was even more broken at the moment. Naturally, they would not suspect that BT, who had been ranked first in grade 3 consecutive years, had failed due to excessive pressure or other reasons. Luzioki's handing in the paper can only prove one thing. The most upright thing has been done. They have just finished the first side of the test paper, and some are even slow and have not finished the first side. As a result, they handed in the paper. Don't be so offensive. It's too much. Luzioki was escorted by the invigilator and left the examination room humming a tune, obviously in a good mood. The reason for escorting is to prevent him from going out early and affecting other candidates. When they arrived outside the examination room, Luzioki saw a group of parents standing in darkness outside the cordon, eagerly waiting for the exam to end. Luzioki shrugged, turned, and slipped to the other side, planning to leave from the side. As a result, as soon as he reached the door, he was blocked by several people holding cameras who looked like reporters. This classmate, are you a candidate? A small woman stood in front of Luzioki with a microphone. Because of the monster siege in Chengdu, the college entrance examination at this moment has attracted the attention of people across the country. After hearing the news, reporters from CCTV rushed to the examination room and broadcast it live. Luzioki looked at the female reporter and was a little speechless. I just walked out of the examination room. If I am not an examinee, can I still be the invigilator? Have you ever seen such a young invigilator? The female reporter thought so too. But it's too early for you to come out, right? It makes me a little unsure. She smiled awkwardly and then asked, as the first candidate to walk out of the examination room today, how are you feeling now? I feel very normal, no different from usual, Luzioki replied casually. The female reporter quickly asked, so, what do you think of your performance this time? Just perform normally. Luzioki paused and then added, oh, I filled it all out this time. In the past, I usually used 1 or 2 to hide my strength. Today, I show my cards and stop pretending. To be number 1. Strive for first place. I am the top scorer in the college entrance examination. Female reporter. So, your normal performance is to fill up the paper? The female reporter was a little confused. Although she thought the candidate might be a little outrageous for coming out so early, she didn't expect it to be so outrageous. However, due to her professional ethics, she still smiled awkwardly and insisted on asking, then do you think the questions in this exam are difficult? If you were to rate the difficulty of the questions, they would be divided into easy, ordinary, and difficult. It's very simple. Luzioki waved her hand. Okay, let's not talk anymore. My sister is waiting for me to come home for dinner. Seeing Luzioki's back walking away gracefully, several people looked at each other in shock. It's only 10 o'clock, are you in a hurry to go back for dinner? Is this a loser? Audiences in front of TV sets across the country burst out laughing when they saw this scene. This guy is so funny. But I came out so early, so I probably didn't do well in the exam. It's a pity, he's quite handsome. After the exam in the afternoon, Luzioki was the first to hand in her paper and walk out of the exam room under the speechless eyes of the invigilator. He remembered the lesson he had learned from being blocked by reporters before. This time he learned it well and walked straight ahead in a swagger. However, before he had taken 2 steps, another familiar voice came from behind. "Classmate, classmate. Please stay." "This classmate, may I ask, is it you?" When Luzioki turned around, the reporter couldn't help but be stunned. Familiar reporters, familiar candidates. Looking at each other speechless. However, in line with her professionalism, the female reporter still forced herself to ask the question, "This classmate, you are the first one to walk out." "I'm in a good mood, I'm performing normally, it's very simple." Luzioki waved her hand to interrupt her. "If there are no other questions, I just want to leave, bye." Female reporter. Audience. How come there is such a wonderful person in Chengdu? Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 147. The 2 days of literary test passed by in a blink of an eye. After a day's rest, Luzioki, Zhao Sueking and other students took the martial arts exam under the leadership of class teacher Xiao Yan. In fact, there are not many candidates who come to take the martial arts exam. There are only a few hundred students in a huge city called Chengdu, not even 1,000. But the venue prepared for them is the best and largest arena in Chengdu, the Chengdu Arena. They will spend all the next exams in complete isolation here, and during the exams, every move they make will attract everyone's attention. Similar to a reality show, of course, there will be no close-ups and introductions of characters, but cameras will be shown in exciting places. The venue of this arena is really big. Refer to Olympic venues. In addition to the examination room temporarily built for the written examination, the remaining areas also include accommodation and rest areas, first aid areas, canteens, and a competition venue that can accommodate 16 teams for actual martial arts exercises at the same time. On the way to the exam, Luzioki listened to Xiao Yan explain the specific rules and precautions of the martial arts exam. As the last step of his high school career, Luzioki still deserves a little respect. You still have to abide by the rules. You can't arrive at the scene and just lift the table and shout at the invigilator, "My rules are the rules," because you don't know anything, right? Then Luzioki might as well choose to give it a walk. The written test is similar to the literary test, except that there are 2 test papers in total, one for strategy and one for general knowledge, each worth 100 points, and the test is completed in the morning and afternoon. The actual combat session is divided into 2 parts, a single-player competition in the morning and a team competition in the afternoon. The competition generally lasts 3 to 5 days, and the specific time depends on the situation. The rules for single-player matches are divided into 2 parts. The first part is the audition. The invigilator will place a training doll on the field. If you defeat the training doll within the specified time, you will get a basic score, 100 points, and advance to the next stage. The second part is the elimination round. Candidates compete in pairs, the winner gets 10 points, the loser gets no points, and the one who cannot decide the winner within the specified time gets 3 points. There are 10 rounds in total. Based on the scores after each round, the opponents for the next round will be rescheduled until the end of the 10 rounds and the total score will be calculated. The way the team competes is similar to the World Cup. The candidates in the group will compete in a round-robin competition to decide the winner. All members of the winning team will get 10 points, the loser will not get any points, and a tie will get 3 points. After the group stage, each team's final score determines who will advance to the next round. Then comes the top 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, until the championship, second and third place are decided. Then add points to your score based on your ranking, with 100 points for the champion, 80 points for the runner-up, 60 points for the third place, 40 points for the 4th to 8th place, and 30 points for the 9th to 16th place. Full score is 200 points, cannot overflow. Generally speaking, Candidates can participate in one of them. They can participate in individual competitions in the morning or team competitions in the afternoon. The remaining half day can be fully rested to prepare for the next competition. But I don't object to you participating in both competitions. Anyway, the score will only be counted in one of them. Originally, Luzaoki didn't plan to participate in the team competition. He could just play solo. After all, with his strength, all he had to do was stand on the ring and make a casual move, and a full score of 200 points would be like picking something up at his fingertips. But he heard that there were rewards for the top 3 in the solo and team competitions. This reward also includes a skill book of your choice. Then Luzaoki is no longer sleepy. His wishful thinking crackled. Play as a solo player and then as a team, each taking first place, and enjoy 2 waves of skills of your choice. After the exam, I will be the top scorer in the college entrance examination and receive a wave of national, provincial, and municipal rewards. 1 exam, 2 gains, 5 times surprise. How can one sentence describe this clearly? That's simply busty deppin'. As for the school's rewards and so on, Luzaoki no longer took it seriously. Because he knew that the school couldn't give him anything that would impress him, it was just some monetary and material rewards plus some medals and certificates as symbols of honor. But when it came time to sign up for the team competition, Luzaoki was in trouble again. Because team competition requires 3 to 6 people. Zhao Xueqing had no problem, but Luzaoki had already asked Zhang Heng on the phone, but the result was surprising. Got rejected. Because Zhang Heng was asked to represent their own school in the team competition, he regretfully said that he could not join Luzaoki's team. Hey, we haven't seen each other for a while, our feelings have faded after all. Luzaoki shook her head and sighed. As a result, their team is missing a vital role. Without him, this game would not have been possible. But Luzaoki didn't have to worry about it for long. Just by looking back inadvertently, his eyes lit up. Wang Liang was really bored, sitting in the rest area with his legs crossed and looking at the surrounding environment. Actually, there wasn't much to see, it was all dark and full of people. I searched for him thousands of times in my dream, but when I suddenly looked back, I saw that person in a dimly lit place. Maybe Wang Liang sensed something and felt a little uncomfortable all over. He turned his head and met Luzaoki's eyes, which seemed to be substantial. He was so frightened that he couldn't help but put his legs down. He sat upright and shivered. Trembling. After the Chen Haoran incident, the two of them had officially turned their feud into friendship. All the small conflicts before disappeared without saying a word while looking at each other and smiling. Mainly because Wang Liang once again saw Luzaoki's BT side. According to rumors, Luzaoki was alone that day. He was galloping on the battlefield, filled with passion and hatred since ancient times, holding a crescent blade. From the east side of the playground to the end of the wasteland, there was a river of blood, but he didn't blink an eye. In the end, Su Jiahao was so frightened that he became insane and did not dare to come to school. The other accomplices all knelt down and begged for mercy, and apologized collectively the next day. Regardless of whether others believe it or not, Wang Liang believes it anyway. This is not only because he has seen the horror of Luzaoki, but also because the wasteland in the school that has not been touched for 3 years was bulldozed the next day. By the time they took the college entrance examination, the brand new canteen had begun to take shape and was about to take shape. It's scary to think about it. With such a good-natured classmate, how could Wang Liang be even remotely competitive? If you accidentally offend Luzaoki, your ashes will be thrown into the sea even within 3 days. So he is not a coward, but simply chooses to follow his heart. This is why it has been so long, almost 100 chapters later, that he has been acting honestly and has not jumped out to act like a monster in front of Luzaoki as usual. At this moment, Luzaoki's eyes were on him, and Wang Liang felt like a thief who was hit by a searchlight. He was terrified and uncomfortable. Especially when he saw Luzaoki walking toward him step by step with a scary smile. He became even more frightened. Luzaoki, could he want to beat himself up before everyone entered the examination room? But recently, I haven't provoked him either? Wang Liang was thinking wildly. He heard Luzaoki's voice ringing in his ears, which scared him to the point of getting goosebumps. I saw him leaning in front of Wang Liang, grinning and saying, "Commissioner Wang, I want to ask you for help with something. If you have something to say." "Don't do anything," Wang Liang blurted out what was on his mind as if he was conditional. Oh. Luzaoki couldn't handle this sentence. The two of them stared at each other for a while before Wang Liang realized what he was doing and said hesitantly, what did you just say? You want me to help?" Luzaoki also hesitated. "Forget it, I'd better find someone else. We are not unreasonable people. Why do you make it look like I'm coercing you? Don't. I'll help. Wang Liang, have decided this. It won't be easy for anyone to come." Wang Liang immediately patted his chest and confirmed. Joke. An opportunity to establish a good relationship with Luzaoki, who has the qualifications of a great emperor, is presented to him. Only a fool doesn't know how to cherish it. "You're changing your mind a little too quickly." Luzaoki looked weird, but finally patted Wang Liang on the shoulder and agreed readily. "Then the decision is yours. Commissioner Wang." Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 148. The written test part was really lackluster. For Luzaoki, who has a photographic memory and is proficient in the 36 strategies and 72 changes. This kind of exam is so easy. Too easy. He originally planned to hand in the paper in advance like the literary test and just skip out. Unexpectedly, the examiner was extremely strict this time and was not allowed to hand in the paper in advance, otherwise it would be regarded as a waiver. There was no other way, so Luzaoki had no choice but to return to her seat and stay in a daze for more than an hour until the exam was over. He almost fell asleep waiting for him to come out. After another day of messing around, it was finally time for the actual competition. On the first day of auditions, there were more than 400 candidates registered for the single competition, and there were only 82 teams for the team competition. However, the single-player competition only lasts for a quarter of an hour. If the time is up and still has not defeated the training doll, it will be regarded as a failure and will be eliminated. The team competition is different. They have half an hour to compete as a team, and the confrontation is much more intense than that of a single player. The morning competition was a solo audition. 12 arenas were set up on the field, and in the center of each arena was a training doll that had not yet been activated. The candidates who were called by the examiner went on stage to fight with the training doll. Because most of the candidates taking the exam are reservists who have just passed the adventurer assessment, they have few skills and their strength is not high. The fighting scenes are very eye-catching. Basically, the puppet made a move, and I dodged it. Then I made a move, and the puppet dodged it. Finally, the skill was on CD, and I lifted the weapon and stretched my arms to do it. Even those whose talents belong to the spellcasting series are holding their staffs and striking the dolls without any trace of the master's posture. Only a few candidates can attract people's attention with their sharp operations and coquettish moves. But Luzaoki is different. Candidate number 93, Luzaoki, upward arrow. As soon as the examiner called his name, his voice changed. His tone rose, and his face was full of doubts and confusion. When he saw the familiar figure walking towards him with a smile, he was stunned. Boss, it's really you. You are so elegant. There is no doubt that this examiner is also a Moonlight-level adventurer who participated in the monster siege. So he recognized this candidate at a glance. He was the big boss who single-handedly quelled a war not long ago. This is outrageous. Even if this big guy is not Ryeo, he is still one of the top few among Uehui. He actually came over to take the martial arts exam with a group of students. Isn't this clearly bullying children? Besides, when this big shot takes action, it is no longer a question of whether he can pass the game. He should be worried about whether the training doll can hold on. Or, can this arena withstand it? The examiner was dumbfounded. Seeing Luzioki walking to the ring, he didn't know what to do for a moment. Luzioki waited for a long time, and when she saw that the examiner was still reluctant to start, she tilted her head, turned around and asked the examiner in confusion, "What's wrong? Is this training doll broken?" "It's not broken, but it's getting faster." The examiner coughed, put on a smile, and whispered, "Mr. Liu, you also come to participate in the martial arts competition in person." "That's right. If I don't come in person, is it possible that I can find someone to take the exam on my behalf?" Luzioki hummed and prompted without any self-awareness, "Then let's get started." "Well, then, let's get started," the examiner sighed inwardly. "Doll, oh doll, it's not that we don't want to save you, there's really nothing we can do. This training doll wears a cute, fluffy bunny coat to hide its cold, steely interior. Don't be deceived by its appearance, it can be very deadly when it comes to beating people. Many candidates who were not strong enough and had no luck were severely punished by it. But unfortunately, it met Luzioki this time. If nothing else, it will have an accident this time." Sure enough, the mechanism of this training doll has just been activated, its eyes have just lit up with a faint blue light, and its limbs have not yet stretched out. The sword flashed. And then its head, wrapped in a rabbit hood, fell to the ground. Gilug. Without the energy supply, the twinkling light in its eyes dimmed. The smooth cut on the neck was still flashing with arcs of electricity, and it took a long time for his body to fall to the ground as if he had lost control and began to twitch. This speed is so fast that even the puppet machine itself does not seem to react. Luzioki held a sword flower in her arms, sheathed her sword, and asked innocently, "If this thing breaks, you don't need me to pay for it, right?" "No, Mr. Liu, you have passed." The examiner closed his eyes and couldn't bear to look directly at the remains of the puppet on the ground. "You old man, hurry up. I'll just pay for it." He didn't lament his impending wallet. He could still afford these small sums. He just thought that in the next round, this big guy would have to compete with a group of reserve players. He couldn't help but feel for those little guys. Glowed. Merit -1 -1 -1. After lunch and a short rest, everyone gathered at the venue again. The previous arena has been demolished and 16 areas have been divided for team combat. Luzioki met his teammates. Zhao Sueking is still the same, as cold as ice. She had been practicing hard during this period. Luzioki checked her aura and found that she was on the verge of a breakthrough again. If she goes one step further, she will become an adventurer at the pinnacle of starlight. As expected of a rich woman. But Wang Liang is different. He is still in the early stage of starlight. On the one hand, it is because the time is still short, and it is normal that there is no obvious progress. On the other hand, it is also because he has been slacking off recently. He was obviously very satisfied with the fact that he could enter the astral realm before the college entrance examination. After all, his father, Wang Hu, is only a middle-stage adventurer. Snort. Let's see who dares to call the father of a tiger and the son of a dog in the future. He has since recognized Luzioki's true face. I lost my desire to compare and compete with Luzioki. So he has been living a comfortable life lately, and he even has the heart to have an underground relationship with a cute girl in his class. After all, high school is about to end. If you don't indulge, You won't have a chance. Anyway, with his strength, the Adventurer Academy is already in place. The three were assigned to the third team of Group E. Before they took the field, the teams in the same group had already gone through two fierce battles. When they went up to fight the first team, it was obvious that the condition of this team was not very good. This could be seen from the wrinkled marks left by their clothes that were wet with sweat and dried by the air. Although I also took a period of rest and took props to recover, it was naturally worse than the peak state. However, there are 5 people in their team, but Luzaoki only played 3. There was a huge difference in the number of personnel between the two teams, so they couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. No matter what happens, 5 against 3, there is no reason to lose, right? Luzaoki took a look at them and realized that they were all noobs who had not yet reached the star level. They didn't even have the desire to take action, so they were ready to let Kuli Liang take action. As a result, a candidate opposite suddenly shouted in an awesome voice, "Look at my trick!" Summoning. I saw his face turned red, a magic circle lit up in front of him, and a fire element slowly appeared. Yo! There is also a distinguished summoner. Luzaoki became interested. He held down Wang Liang, who was about to take action, and quickly formed a seal, disguise, with his hands. Hai Su Yu Shenwei. Then he shouted, "What a shame, Sino Chus!" He slapped the ground with his palm. The confused little black dog appeared in front of everyone who looked confused. Hai Tantio Yu. It was sleeping soundly in the new kennel bought for it by its sister, when it was suddenly called over by this heartless owner. This bastard, even if you don't give him food, you still expect him to work. It's so inhumane. An unscrupulous boss will be hung on a street lamp sooner or later. Everyone. When others summon elemental spirits, what does it mean when you summon a repair dog? Do you look down on people? Luzaoki didn't care what they thought. With a wicked smile on his face, he stuffed a handful of pet food into Heitantu's mouth and whispered, "Scare them, don't kill anyone." Then he pointed to the opposite side and shouted, "Come on. Black Carbon Head." Black Tantu swallowed the food with a gulp, feeling satisfied. He glanced at his second master with helpless and doting eyes, as if to say, "Bad Master Yin, it's me, Long Long, who loves you the most." Woof ouch roar. The black charcoal head quickly switched between foreign languages, and as its voice changed, its body began to expand at a speed visible to the naked eye. In everyone's disbelieving eyes, a giant dragon several meters high appeared in everyone's field of vision, roaring into the sky, and the domineering power of the dragon rushed towards the face. Snap! Seeing that the situation was not good, the fire elemental cancelled the summons himself and returned to the elemental world. The 5 people on the opposite side looked at the behemoth in front of them, and their legs became weak. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 149. Originally, I planned to fail in the college entrance examination, but I wrote about 10 chapters, but after thinking about it, I deleted this part of the plot. After all, with the strength of the protagonist, there is no point in writing this without a twist, so most of the content has been shortened, and many places may not be written. Please make up your mind. The following is the text. The martial arts test ended soon. Luzaoki undoubtedly won with a crushing advantage. Ever since the black charcoal head he summoned revealed his true form once, no matter how good the team was, they would take the initiative to give up the game when they met him. No one would be willing to go head to head with a team that has a giant dragon as its summon. What? You say that's false? Is it a stunt or a component of technology? Please, even if the Duan transformation into a giant dragon is fake, can the power it exudes that far exceeds the star level be faked? Then again, if this can be faked. How can you, with your 3 or 2 kittens and your humble Taoist skills, fight against such an illusion master? Don't fight until the end and find out that you have killed all your teammates, that would be too embarrassing. So it's better to lose points and preserve your condition to prepare for the next battle. There is no suspense, Lu Xiaoqi's team won the championship with perfect scores. Zhao Xueqing was expressionless at this result, and even wanted to laugh a little. Wang Liang even said that he had no gaming experience. However, the two of them were holding Lu Xiaoqi on his lap, so naturally they had no say. Lu Xiaoqi also won first place in the solo competition in a crushing manner. Many people recognize him from watching team games, but they don't have any fighting spirit at all. Even if there are a few who fight him with a sense of luck, they will not be able to survive a round under the ordinary attack of the Golden Elixir boss. The results of the martial arts examination will be released on the same day after the examination. Lu Xiaoqi went home happily holding his 400 perfect score. The results of the liberal arts test will be calculated proportionally into his total score after they are released. But looking at his 400 points, one can tell that their province's top scorer in the college entrance examination is basically guaranteed. No matter how bad his literary test score is, it won't be too low. Besides, he still has 50 extra points that are useless. This means that even if he doesn't count his literary test scores, he already has 450 points. But considering his abnormal strength, it seems that he can understand his results. Naturally, the rewards for the first place in the single-player competition and the first place in the team competition were awarded on the spot. Lu Xiaoqi chose 2 skills, which are very rare skills on the market and difficult to buy. Zhao Xueqing chose a prop, which seemed to be the key to a secret dungeon. Using it, one could enter the dungeon and go to a place similar to a hidden level to obtain more props and get extra points when clearing the level. Wang Liang chose the equipment. He currently only has a sword that his father prepared for him, and the other positions are empty. This time he chose a set of light armor with good defensive capabilities. In fact, he was a little embarrassed. Following Lu Xiaoqi, I originally thought I was helping others, but in the end, I didn't do anything. Instead, I got first place in the team competition. Zhao Xueqing was different. She had anticipated the scene when she agreed to Lu Xiaoqi's participation in the team competition. Being a Panchun gangster, not only did I not feel guilty, I even felt a little happy. The 3 of them said goodbye at the entrance of the arena, and Wang Liang was picked up by his father in a Land Rover. Father Wang was very relieved to learn about his son's results. He took his son to have a drink on the spot and gathered some friends from the adventure group to brag about his son. Xiao Yan unexpectedly did not show up. She is currently going through the resignation procedures and has contacted her former teammates in preparation for returning to the world. She also knew the strength of several people. She had no doubts about whether they could successfully pass the martial arts test and was full of confidence in Lu Xiaoqi. So there was no need for her to come and see. After all, she had already done everything she could and should do. No matter what the outcome is, she can face it with a clear conscience and calmly. Looking at Lu Xiaoqi's retreating back, Zhao Xueqing's eyes flickered, looking a little lonely. This time Lu Xiaoqi didn't take her car, and she didn't give any reason for sending him away. Besides, the college entrance examination is over and she has to leave. For her, the end of the college entrance examination is just the beginning of another test. She needs to grow up as soon as possible so that she can have more say and be able to. Lu Xiaoqi didn't pay attention to the squad leader's mood. He was holding 2 skills and report cards in his hands and rushed home happily. There was a concerned person there who was eagerly awaiting his return. "Sister, I'm back." Lu Xiaoqi held Heitantu, who didn't want to stay in the dark pet space, with one hand, held her report card in the other, and shouted into the room. Lu Wanyi was doing a set of exercises to relax her muscles and activate her blood circulation in her room. When she heard the movement, she immediately stood up, opened the door and walked out. Lu Zioqi saw the set of gymnastics in the books that Lao Bai gave him. After his own experiments, he determined that it is harmless to the human body and that ordinary people can also exercise to strengthen the body, relax muscles, and activate blood circulation. Effect. Only then did he safely teach it to Lu Wanyi, preparing to lay the foundation for her future practice. Zioqi is back. You must be exhausted after taking the exam for so long, right? Lu Wanyi greeted Lu Zioqi gently, taking out the slippers and plain clothes she wore at home that she had prepared for him. She didn't ask Lu Zioqi how he did in the exam, but immediately asked if Lu Zioqi was tired. Not tired at all. Lu Zioqi shook her head with a smile, put on slippers, took off her t-shirt, put on plain clothes, and took her sister's hand. Sister, look. I got full marks in the exam. He was as proud as a child, showing off his achievements to Lu Wanyi. With his sister, he can completely relax, without any need to be defensive or play any tricks, pure and childish. Yeah. Zioqi is great. Lu Wanyi smiled and gave him a thumbs up, without even opening the transcript that Lu Zioqi handed her. This is not perfunctory, but absolute trust and unreserved support for his brother. As a reward, I want to eat the spicy crayfish made by my sister. Lu Zioqi made her request without hesitation. Okay. I'll go out and buy it for you soon. Lu Wanyi nodded in agreement. Let's go together. Okay. Let's go together. Lu Wanyi shook her head helplessly. For this clinging brother, she was a little funny, but more of a doting one. Only Haitan, who was put aside, was smacking his mouth. I don't know why, but he suddenly felt like he was full. It's like being forced to stuff a handful of pet food into your mouth by an unscrupulous owner. Global copy, my talent is called Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. Author, Crying Boy Has Bad Luck. Chapter 150. Sister Wu, Mr. Zhang was already a little unhappy because of the mistake in the last interview. This time we are interviewing the top martial arts champion in Chengdu. I hope nothing will go wrong again. After getting off the TV station's car, the young man carrying the camera frowned and was worried. He is just a temporary worker and may be replaced at any time if he does not do well. The Sister Wu he mentioned was the female reporter who interviewed Lu Zioqi twice before. Because both interviews were muddled by the first few words of the candidate who rushed out of the examination room without asking for any useful information, the leaders were not satisfied with their work. The reporter surnamed Wu also looked aggrieved. Can you blame me for this? Who knew this candidate was so weird and uncooperative at all? However, she is still very confident about this interview. She had obtained the contact information of the family members of the martial arts champion through formal channels, and had made an appointment with the young lady with a gentle voice for a door-to-door interview. This time she was fully prepared, and she would never have the same mistake as last time. The most important thing is that this is an exclusive interview, recorded and broadcast. Unlike the live broadcast, even if she makes any mistakes, she can cover them up through editing, which is much less difficult than before. So much so that even her makeup was not as refined as last time. It was simply decorated and felt rather perfunctory. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I can pee. He's just a bit useless in the later stage. It's okay. At worst, when you go back to buy a lunchbox for him, bring an extra pack of spicy strips. Want Wulong? The home of the top scorer in the martial arts exam is in a high-end community in the west of the city. When they arrived at the gate of the community, although the security guard noticed that their posture seemed unusual, he still dutifully stopped them and asked about their purpose. Finally, he called the owner to confirm the information. After verifying that it was correct, he asked several people to register. Then he let them into the community and showed them the way. A few people wandered around the community and took some videos, intending to serve as highlights and introductions. The environment here is very good, somewhat like a Suzhou garden, surrounded by mountains and rivers, with birds singing and flowers fragrant. It is indeed a good place to stay healthy. The reporter was a little envious of the upper-class people who could afford to live in such an environment. No wonder we can cultivate talents who are number one both individually and as a team. The main theme is just one word: inhumane. Nothing like her, she seemed to have joined the establishment of a public institution and got an iron rice bowl. As a result, looking at the salary, I worked hard every day and worked overtime. At the end of the month, it was only just over 5,000. I can only live in that small house that I don't even have to pay property fees for. It's shabby, dirty, and stolen, but the rent is exorbitantly expensive. Hey, stop talking, it's all fate. When they arrived at the door, several people discussed it and started recording. First, the female reporter took the microphone and looked into the camera and began to introduce the purpose of today's trip and the amazing results of Wu Zhuangyuan, single and team double championship, perfect score in Wushu exam. Raise the audience's expectations. Then she gently rang the doorbell on the security door. Here we come, a soft female voice came out through the thick door panel, which seemed a little subtle. I could vaguely hear the patter of slippers on the ground approaching. The door slowly opened. Lu Wanyi's gentle face appeared in front of everyone, as if the sun was shining brighter. Hello. I am Wu Xia, a reporter from CCTV. Are you classmate Lu's sister? We are here to conduct an exclusive interview with Mr. Lu and his family. The female reporter blurted out the lines she had prepared for a long time. Lu Wanyi blinked, her eyes curved into crescent moons and nodded, "Come in." She had known for a long time that her younger brother was promising and had won first place. But when she learned that a reporter was coming to interview them, she was still very happy and agreed after thinking about it. The reporters were very well prepared. Lu Wanyi was still looking for slippers for them in the shoe cabinet, so they consciously took out disposable shoe covers and put them on their feet. Are you here to see Xiaoqi? As soon as the female reporter heard that there was an opportunity, she immediately said, yes. We made a special trip to visit him today, and secondly, we also want to know some of his deeds from you. Originally, she came to interview Lu Xiaoqi's family with the worst plan, but it would be best if Lu Xiaoqi could be interviewed at home. Excuse me, is he at home? Yes, yes, he is in the room now. Lu Wanyi nodded and shouted into the room, Xiaoqi. The reporter is here, come out quickly. Oh, came a voice that seemed a little familiar. The camera was focused on the room. As the door of the room opened, the female reporter's heart beat a little faster. She didn't even see the person clearly, and she immediately blurted out the lines she had conceived in her mind. Hello, classmate Lu, I am Wu Xia, a reporter from CCTV. Nice to meet you. Oh. How happy are you? As this naughty voice sounded in Wu Xia's ears, she took a closer look and her eyes darkened. How are you? Why you? Wu Xia almost blurted out what she was thinking. This person was exactly the candidate who teased her at the entrance to the college entrance examination room. He will actually be the top pick in the martial arts exam, Lu Xiaoqi. At this moment, the female reporter wanted to understand many things. No wonder he took the literary test so easily and satisfactorily. How dare you leave the examination room so early without 2 brushes? It turns out that he doesn't care much about his literary test scores at all, he is the top scorer in the martial arts test. The female reporter felt worried, forced a smile, and replied, I'm very happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, then it's too early for you to be happy, Lu Xiaoqi shrugged, spreading his hands very badly. Female reporter. Photographer. Cut this off. Can this be broadcast? Xiaoqi, Lu Wanyi glared at him angrily. Luzioki immediately calmed down and became serious. Perhaps because her sister was suppressing her, Luzioki honestly didn't cause any trouble. Let everyone breathe a sigh of relief. However, when answering many questions, Luzioki was vague and refused to disclose details. That's quite uncooperative work. Despite this, as they got to know Luzioki's family more deeply, everyone could not help but sincerely admire the siblings in front of them. I originally thought that it was a wealthy family that relied on resources to accumulate success. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a very inspiring little person's counterattack. The parents are missing, a frail sister works hard at home to support the family, and the well-behaved and sensible brother works hard outside. In the end, he achieved excellent results and rewarded his sister who had worked hard to raise him. This is simply the perfect protagonist script. In particular, the younger brother became an adventurer without telling his older sister and went to the dungeon to practice. In a short period of time, he achieved great achievements. His strength increased by leaps and bounds and he even got a dragon as a pet. Europe. Why is this damn sense of déjà vu so fat? Did I get some cool script? However, the character of this protagonist is indeed a bit difficult to describe. It's my sister who has been working so hard at home.